Hello, I'm Jinx, and welcome to Anyland. Here I want to show how to use the tell and when told commands to make things happen kind of remotely, either between parts in a thing or between parts in across things, across a room, across the whole map of an area, and of course, in your avatar. This is very handy to know, very handy to use it all the time in all sorts of things, and let's basically get into it. So the first thing you need to know about using the tell and when told commands is obviously they have to be paired, but they have to be paired exactly. So you have, for example, the tell and then your variable and your when told and that same variable. And that's used within a thing, a single thing between parts. And then you have tell nearby and then when told by nearby, and the variables after those that you set, and that is between two things that are within a certain distance. We'll map that out in Jinx Mansion lab here and try to get a feel for how far you can actually go. And then you have tell any and when told by any, and that theoretically can send a message and be received all the way across an entire area. And there's an attribute, try to show it far away, that you can set for your thing so that it does render, because if it doesn't render, it's not necessarily going to be picked up at all, because there's a distance optimizer and not everything shows up at once, of course. And then there is tell body and when told by body, and that's used for your avatar. So a lot of the buttons that I have on my arm that trigger different effects are often the button tells a part, tell body X, when told by body X, do the thing. So let's get right into the scripting as we go, and kind of just pick an empty spot over here. So I'm going to create a thing. I'll just pick out a box. I'll make it that cyan blue. Okay, so here we have one thing, and we'll duplicate it, and just to make it different, I'll kind of give it a little stretch. So now we have two parts in one thing, yeah? So, context laser this cube, and I'm just going to do when touched, because that's going to be nice and easy. And, nope, not that. When touched, then, okay? When touched, then tell. When touched, then tell. And there we have tell. And then basically you put in whatever variable you want to choose, whatever word, whatever combination of letters. Nearby would be, again, nearby. Any would be any in this entire map. Body would be if I was wearing the avatar parts. So I'm just going to use tell without any other thing and not necessarily pressed. Just to show you can type in whatever variable you'd like. So, it's Halloween. Let's just say pumpkin. Yeah. So when touched, then tell pumpkin. Hopefully this works, right? So if I just finish it and I touch it, obviously nothing happens because nothing's listening for the pumpkin. Yeah, that sounded interesting, didn't it? When touched, then tell pumpkin. Okay, great. So the second part in this whole thing I'm going to do, let's, second page, when told. And then here you have when told by nearby, by any, by body. These are the ones you have to pair if you use tell commands that use those. But we didn't use nearby, any, or body, so when told your variable then. So when told, and again it's pressed, I don't care, because it's pressed wasn't the one I used. I actually used pumpkin. Alright. And then you have to type in then. You could use just the tap here to move the cursor, but I don't need to do that, so that's fine. So when told by pumpkin, then what? Just make it obvious and easier. Become state. We'll do state 2, become next. It's fine. In 0.5 seconds. That's great. Okay, when told pumpkin, then become next in 0.5 seconds. So now we need a state 2. And, well, if we're going to do pumpkins, we should do orange, right? Whatever. This is going to make it... It's a box pumpkin. Great. I can actually leave that. I don't care, but we'll just do when starts, then become next. I didn't define a 3, so next will go back to 1 in 2 seconds. Oh, 0.2 seconds. That'll just loop it. Okay, so our base shape now is this. And when I touch this, that's going to change shape and turn orange. Whoop, and then go back, because that's how I did it. So that's just when tell. No problem, right? When touch, then tell pumpkin. Nothing to it. Then you could do all sorts of fancy stuff if you want to become next, and like if you do a switch and you want it to like change state so it looks like the lever flipped or the button actually went in like this real quick. When touch, then tell pumpkin. Do become next in 0.2 seconds. Become next. If this were a button and it was mounted on a wall or something, I like to do like that. When starts, then become next in 0.5 seconds. That'll just bounce it back. So now I actually have a button effect. Boop. Boop. Note that with the timing, these are not actually in sync, so I can keep hitting this faster than this will trigger. So, just like when I explained in my guns and emitted things tutorial, if you want things to line up, pay attention to the math, yes, math, of the timing. Great, okay, so that's fun. Let me show you when nearby, and I'm actually going to back up here. Hot tip, I use people count and people in area on the wall. So when I'm in the lab, I can see if anyone joins Jinx Mansion, because the number will increment, and then their name will show up on the wall. Cool. Alright, so we'll do this. And we'll just make it orange to start, because that's kind of fun. We're going to do, actually, when touched. Really? I figured that one. When touched, then tell. And we're going to do nearby. When touched, then tell, nearby. Great. We're going to use, if I do pumpkin, it won't trigger that piece, because that piece was only using tell, and it's paired with tell. So if I pair nearby, I'll show you. When touched, then tell, nearby pumpkin. Alright, check this out. This will not trigger that. See? Not triggering, not triggering, not triggering. Because, like I said, that's using tell pumpkin, and this is using tell nearby pumpkin. And the receiving part, the long piece that turns orange, is listening for when told nearby. Not, or, excuse me, when told pumpkin. It is not listening for when told by nearby pumpkin. So you have to pair those commands. This will do nothing to that. Let me create a completely separate thing. Okay, just so you really know it's separate, we're going to use a circle sphere. And we shall make it blue, red, red. We'll make it glowing red. How about that? Oh, jeez, that's bright, right? Okay, so here we're going to do when, and we're listening. So when told, so it's listening. When told by nearby, because this one's telling nearby. Pumpkin. When told by nearby pumpkin, type in then. Autocomplete become next. 0.5 seconds is fine. Sure. Become next in 0.5 seconds. Woo! On state 2, we'll make it glow orange. Kind of like a lighter orange. Kind of a pale orange. And then we'll make it go back. So when starts and become next in 1 second. Boop. Told by nearby pumpkin. Alright, so we hit this, and that'll change color. Whee! Okay. And again, because I didn't animate this at all, I don't have to worry about syncing. This will do it every time it's touched. But this, of course, has some time delay in it. Alright, I'm going to change the yellowy orange to something much more dramatic, like bright pink. Because I'm going to spread out a bunch of these. Clone. Clone. Actually, I should do some elevation changes here so we can see. This is kind of a test to see how far the nearby command will trigger. And I'm assuming it's not nearly as far as the size of the lab here. It could be. It's been a while since I've actually tested that out, so. There. Honestly, I expect all of these to trigger. And they didn't! Okay, so we could definitely see that the last 4 didn't trigger. So this didn't trigger. And that one did. So let's see how. Get over here. How precise I can be. If I do this, you and you, come with me. Okay, so really that last one, the first one of that 4 cluster, is as far as it's going to go, from the center point of this to the center point of that one. Let's see how well I can make a ruler. It is roughly the center point of that, and almost the center point of that. Yeah. Sweet. So this is the distance of the tell nearby and when told by nearby. I think I'll put this up on the in-game boards later when I'm finished, on the showcase board, just as a reference if anyone ever needs it. And I'll make that clonable so people can stretch it and color it and whatever they need. Okay, so now I learned something specific in my own tutorial, and I hope everyone else did, because yeah, that's really handy information to know. The distance of when told by nearby. Alright, moving right along. Here we go. I'll just move aside. That's crazy. Okay. We're going to do any. And we already know that's a distance, so. Pick a green color, just for fun. Okay. When touched, then tell any. Any. Pumpkin. Because by using the same variable over and over, I'm also reinforcing that you have to pair tell any, because tell any will not trigger tell nearby, will not trigger just tell. Great, so we have that. That is set. Well, set here, who cares? Just a tutorial. I shall create a completely separate thing. And let's use pyramid. Yeah, why not? Pyramid will be yellow. Alright, no, glowing yellow. Oh, so bright. Love it. Okay. You can tell I just had coffee, right? Because, yeah. Coffee makes the world go round. Alright, so. I'm told by any. Pumpkin. I'm told by any pumpkin. Then becomes date next in 0.5 seconds. Ding. I'm gonna just make this one scales uniformly and make it really big, because we're gonna do it at a distance, so you're gonna want to see this thing grow. Grow and become purple. Purpley blue. Alright, whatever. And state. Did you see what I did there? Yeah, I didn't hit state 2 before I measured it out, so now I'm gonna have to reverse this. Fortunately, it's just geometric shape and doesn't matter at all. But had I done that in a complex shape that I would have had to hit discard to reset it, and I would When you're not paying attention, that happens. So, step 1, yellow, glowing. When told by any pumpkin, then become next. 2, hey, I'm inside it now. We'll just say when starts, then become next again in 0.5 seconds. Well, we'll do 1 second. We'll be at a distance. Sometimes that happens. I saw that in my somethings tutorial. Just context lasered again. Hit that. It's saved as the last thing I typed in. Boom. There it is. And we're good to go. So it's yellow. So obviously if I hit this in close proximity, it happens. Note, none of those change because they're not using the any command. They're using nearby, and the first one I made is not using either of those. It's just using a straight tell command. Okay. And you know about the remote moving. Context laser something and change things and then move away. I'll go all the way up to this corner. Actually, even better. We'll do it here. Up on the platform. So you can see our green cube way over there. Okay. Now, we're seeing it, that's quite a distance. We already know that it's beyond the tell nearby distance. So that tell any will work across the map, across a room, but yes, across the whole area. And if you do want it across an entire area, if it's so far away from where your explorers are, then you're going to need to use this. Try show if far away too. Actually, interesting wording on that. That will try to render this whole thing, which happens to just be one part. No matter where you are on a map, it'll try to render it, even if it's so far away you can't actually see it. That way it'll still pick up commands and, well, be triggered. So if you wanted to have some crazy effects way in the distance, or if you wanted to have a puzzle where if somebody found a hidden switch, it could unlock a bonus room, door, unlock a door, open a door, way at the end of the puzzle, or the whole map or something, you could have that effect happen. So we got that, and this guy with the animated button. And the body parts are the same way. I'll show this, the button here. You know, my shield. It's just the button is saying when touched by hands, then tell body whatever variable I have, and then there's, in this case for the shield, there's a little tiny sphere inside the arm, and it's just listening for when told by body the variable, then becomes state 2. So it's the same thing with my wings, as you can see on my side there. Get back here. Even, for example, that, because when that is when touched, it comes up, but it's got to tell these other pieces to also come up, right? So let's see real quick if I can. Heads and arms. What's a good arm? This is my current arm. Just to deconstruct it. This also something I do when I'm editing things a lot. I often have a step 2 that's blank when step 1 does nothing, to move it out of the way when I'm editing, because you can see all those words in there. That's where I'm hiding all of these words for my teleport menu and for my orb spawner on my shoulder. Yeah. Oh, now we get psychedelic. So, I guess the easiest thing to do would be the menu itself. So let me move the wrist out of the way, let me move the piece out of the way. Okay, so this triangle, when it's pushed, tells all those parts to come out. So, context laser, that button. When touches hand, then tell body, there's a variable, and then it says come next in 0.1 seconds, so that it gives that little push-in effect. and then play a sound effect. And that's just, it bounces back, just like I did with that button. So, then we have all these pieces here. That triangle. When told by body, that variable, then we come next. Boom. And of course, we're at a funky angle, so like that. That command is also in all of the text pieces that are supposed to be on this, and every one I add. And then it actually has the exact, except become 2 and become 1. Could actually just be next and next, doesn't matter. That way, when I push the button again, they all just zip back in. So I don't have to wait 30 seconds if I pop that on and go, actually I don't want to teleport to Haunted Woods Trails right now. Too spooky, oh no. I wouldn't have to just sit here like, la la, hey guys, how's it going? You know, that would be silly, so just to reverse it. But notice, it's just told by body. The button is when touched and then tell body. Again, just everything is paired, the tell commands. So, I hope this is super handy and helpful for you. So yeah, that's the basics of the tell commands and the when told listening scripts. And really just the most important thing to remember with those is they have to be paired. So you use tell and tell, you use tell nearby and when told by nearby, and again, tell body, when told by body, and tell any and when told by any. And as you saw here, I used the same variable pumpkin for everything, and they didn't trigger cross tell scripts because they have to be paired. And handy tip on that. So just remember that. Experiment with it. You can use holdables like a gun, and if you want to do an ammo counter, you could do something where, you know, every state goes to the next state, next state, next state. You know, 10 shots, 10 states. And then when it gets to that 11th state, you have it lock out because it sends a tell nearby to like the ammo. And well, I've done that before. I don't think you've seen it, so let me show you real quick and let you experiment with it yourself. This gun, you see the ammo clip, I can hit trigger as much as I want and it's not going to fire until I load it, which is a tell command that tells, you know, basically the emitter, now go to the next state, listening for the trigger command, and I can shoot this off 10 times, I think it was, and then again it goes back into that locked out state where it won't shoot, and it tells these parts to all release as if an ammo clip falling out, and all that. So even holdables like guns and whatever crazy cool things that you come up with, like handheld switches or handheld laptop PDA computer thingies, could be used so that you were holding something and hit a button and it unlocks a door. Interesting idea, right? So yeah, hope this has been helpful. As always, I'm just trying to help and get everyone up to speed and see what they can do. It's fun. And other than that, have a great day.